This is the Home Tech Podcast, show number 54, recorded on December 8th, 2011. I am your host, Jim Collison, broadcasting live from the AverageGuy.tv studios here in a cold, blustery, and winter-like Bellevue, Nebraska. Actually, a couple inches of snow have come down on my way in from work. Caused this to be a little late with the podcast tonight as the roads were slipping and sliding, or actually my car was slipping and sliding all over the interstate on the way home. But we did make it, no crashes, and I think winter is finally upon us here in the Midwest. Of course, we post the show each week with world-class show notes done none other than by Andrew out at theaverageguy.tv. Of course, you can contact the show, podcast at theaverageguy.tv, or track me down on Twitter. It's just at @jcollison. You can also find us on Facebook or iTunes by searching The Average Guy Podcast. And please leave comments out there, especially on iTunes. That helps with the search rankings. If you like what we do, just throw a little positive comment out there, and that'll move us up just a bit. We've set up all the links that you'd ever need to automatically download the podcast to your iPhone, iPod, iPad, as well as any Android phone or tablet device. Just look over for the iTunes or RSS buttons over at theaverageguy.tv. Actually, that's how I use BeyondPod on my new Android, and I just set the RSS feeds up. Actually, I went to theaverageguy.tv in my browser on the phone, clicked on those links, and it asked me, where do you want to do it? BeyondPod or the music player, and I clicked BeyondPod, and it set up the feed automatically for me. So nice and easy, and you can do it today. All right, a couple guys with me tonight, a couple guys absent. Rich was supposed to be on the show and was not feeling well tonight, and so he is out. Christian was buried with some homework and such, and so whenever Christian is out, we always get the pinch hitter. We call him the left-hander, Gary Johnson. Gary, how are you doing this evening?
Just fine, Jim. Thanks.
Good to have you. It's always good to have you on the show. And actually 2 weeks in a row, because I think you're scheduled for next week. Did you know that?
That's correct.
All right, good. So we'll get to 2 consecutive weeks. And then a guy that's looking way too comfortable in the sun, and spring is upon him. Summer will be there before they know it. Andrew Morris down in Melbourne. Andrew, how are you?
Pretty good, thanks, Jim. It's a steamy 87 degrees down here today.
Nice. 87. That's the American 87, right?
That's the American
kind
87.
of funky Australian 87.
No, I'd be losing about 3 kilograms a minute if we're 87 Celsius.
Now 87, that's good, and sunny. I assume the solar panels are in full effect.
Yeah, we're I think this week so far we've fed back onto the grid roughly our monthly power bill.
Monthly.
So monthly.
Nice.
Yeah, so this month we're looking to get back $100 to $150 from the power company.
Nice.
And fully pay for our electricity and natural gas.
Wow. So none of that. You won't have to. That'll all be free. Plus, you'll make $150 from the utilities.
Yeah.
That's a nice deal. Well, you had told me when you put those solar panels up that that's quite an investment up on the roof. But with that kind of dollars, you'll pay that off pretty quick, I would imagine.
Yeah, actually, I was looking at some payback calculations earlier in the week, and I think, based on what we've seen since they went up, we're looking at full payback of the outlay around about January to March to 2013.
That's not bad at all.
And then it's money for jam from there on in.
Yeah, I like it. Very cool. Well, I'm glad to see some progressiveness there with solar panels. We are still here in the U.S. way behind on that. Just not happening as fast as I would like it to. And I think, you had mentioned somewhere between 10 and 15 grand to throw those on your roof. Is that right?
Yeah, thereabouts.
Yeah. And that's a reasonable investment. If I could pull that off here in Nebraska, the summer here, I got this, I've mentioned this before, the south-facing roof, which we just got re-roofed, had a horrendous hailstorm this last summer that just tore my roof to shreds. And we just had that replaced. Love to throw some solar panels up there and take advantage of that. The incentives just still aren't, at least in the state of Nebraska, the incentives are still not here. So I'm kind of waiting for the state to kick in some cash and apply some incentives, some tax rebates, something. Yeah, I assume you had some rebates on those?
Yeah, we had a fairly significant rebate. So our outlay was a bit over, I think it was around about $12,500, and I think the rebate we got from the government was about 15 grand. So
more than half.
Yeah, and the scheme's constantly changing. I mean, we get 66 cents a kilowatt hour that we feed onto the grid back from our retailer. That deal ended at the end of September this year. So people who are new subscribers are getting 1 for 1. So, yeah. Still not a bad deal.
Yeah.
If you can halve your bill by whacking some silicon on your roof, why not?
Yeah, no, for sure. Gary, would you you ever thought about putting solar panels up on the roof?
Well, seeing as how I haven't seen the sun in about 6 weeks.
Maybe not, huh? Maybe not so good there in Buffalo.
Here. And then not only that, I mean, we're getting like 6 to 9 inches of snow tonight. So
yeah.
What are you going to do with a solar panel when there's 3 inches of snow on top of it?
No, right on.
Yeah.
And you guys get your annual snowfall's pretty high, right there in the Buffalo area?
Yeah, we're one of the highest in the country.
Right. Yeah. So maybe doesn't make sense. Here in Nebraska, they would be a wash in the winter, but I think in the summer I could generate some power that might. We are sunny and open and hot, and I think I could generate some power throughout the summertime. Although I would be worried we get that nasty stuff called hail, and I would be worried that they would have to be some kind of hail resistant if I was going to throw them up there, because we just got shredded. Like I said, we got shredded with baseball size hail. That's the biggest I've ever seen it here in Bellevue in the 20 years I've lived here.
And what about wind speeds?
Wind speeds are solid. Yeah, I mean, we get some gusts of 60, 70, 80 miles an hour at times. We're in tornado. We're in the northern part of Tornado Alley here in the Midwest, and so yeah, you're right. We'd make a fin out of them. Maybe the whole house would lift up. Make them windproof. Well, anyways,
either that or you throw a turbine up there as well and harness the wind and harness the sun. And
that is something that is growing in this area. We have a lot of wind turbines.
Yeah.
Don't know if they'll ever break even on them, but they go up, and General Electric makes a lot of money. But they are becoming popular.
Yeah, it's an interesting topic at the moment. They've got the Global Climate Summit running at the moment over in Durban in South Africa, and we were watching on the news a couple of nights ago. They're saying that the Pacific Island countries are rapidly becoming salt laden, and going to in the next few years have trouble feeding themselves. So at some point in time, I think people will need to start removing that dependency on fossil fuel.
Yeah.
And
not quite sure how it's going to happen.
Interestingly, in the Netherlands, they're actually starting to dismantle some of their wind turbines that were put out in the ocean on the wind farms. They're just not cost effective. They can't afford to maintain them.
Yeah.
So they're actually starting to dismantle some of them.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, some of that stuff's worth a try. I mean, we got to figure something out. It's not, eventually we're going to run out of oil.
Fusion.
That will happen.
Perpetual motion.
So it
fusion.
Or just everybody runs everywhere. How about that? That would be.
Yeah, there you go.
Just spot the athlete amongst us.
Good for you.
Or we could go back to horses and buggies. And,
I was watching the latest. We rented Sherlock Holmes, the newest Sherlock Holmes movie, because the new movie comes out here on December 16th, and we were big fans of that movie. And in one of the scenes, they're going, it's downtown London, and it's horse and carriage, and the street is dirt. That had to be horrific. I just can't. Yeah.
You just have to learn to watch where you walk.
Yeah. When it's everywhere, I'm just not sure. It must have just been a different day, and it just had to smell everywhere. And so I'm not ready to go back to horse and buggy. But it certainly, I think we're going to have to get smarter about our energy consumption and the way we do it. Certainly batteries are not the alternative, because they are harder on the environment than just about anything when you try and get rid of them. And so I don't know. Not to turn this into a political recycling or fuel efficiency show, but it's certainly technology will be out in the forefront of that, and it'll be interesting to see with what kind of technologies that they come up with, because eventually we'll run out of things to burn. I mean, we'll run out of coal, and we'll run out of gas, and burning those things just won't be that efficient.
Oh, that just last comment on energy. There's a great little movie that's actually on tonight on I think it's one of the cable channels. It's, if you've never seen it, it's a fun watch. It's called Simply Moon. And the premise is that we've got the fusion reactors up and running, but we need what is it, hydrogen-3 or something that the moon has plenty of.
Oh.
And helium-3.
Okay.
I think it's H3. So the whole concept is there's this base on the moon that's almost 100% automated with these harvesters that collect the ore and get it ready for shipping. And there's this one guy that mans the station. And it's got an interesting plot. It's fun to watch, and it's on cable tonight.
Interesting.
I forget which one, but if you ever get a chance to see it, it's just the simple name is Moon. It was a low-budget flick, but it's really well done.
Very good.
Okay.
I have never seen that, but it seems like a good late Friday night movie to watch, maybe, just before you go to bed.
Chilling.
Well, let's talk a little technology. I'll start. I spent the last couple weeks, actually the last couple months, kind of deciding on some new PC purchases, and I actually had last week, I think I talked a little bit, I'd pulled the trigger on a Lenovo Q180 that I was going to use as a home server version 2 box, and then I was carefully looking over the receipt, or not the receipt, but the email confirmation, and I looked at the ship date. I was like, oh, because I thought it had said the 9th. And so I was looking for it and looking for it and looking for it, and then I was like, oh, so it'll be here on the 9th. And then I read it said January 9th. I was like, oh, I don't want to wait another month for that. So I did jump in, canceled that order. It was a Black Friday deal, and I did get some good money off on it. But in the meantime, the HP MicroServer, the N40L version of that, had gone on sale at Newegg for $250 during the Black Friday sales, and I picked one of those up. It came in the mail on Monday. Actually have that set up, and if you're seeing the video, it's right behind me there. 4 bays, not hot swappable, as we found out tonight.
The hard way.
And even if it was hot swappable, you can't pull the system drive and expect it to keep running. Although I was surprised it actually ran for, 5 minutes before it started shutting itself down.
Yeah.
So it must have had enough information in memory. It's only got the sys drive in it right now, and I just yanked that thing right out. It does have big stickers on it that say that it's a non-hot swappable, that's not meant to be hot swappable. And I just yanked the drive right out. So not advisable. Got that set up and have been working with a Windows 2011 configuration. Pretty excited about having a dedicated box. To this point, I've been doing it all with virtualization. And that's okay. I mean, it works, but it's to have a dedicated box is something that I've been kind of waiting for. So a little Turion 1.6 gigahertz, couple gig of memory in there, and looking forward to throwing 2011 on there in a couple different test configurations. Kind of messing around with it. I also ordered a half height USB 3 because I bought the Lenovo to take advantage of USB 3 for the Drobo S that I have. That's USB 3. And so I just ordered a half-height USB 3 card that I'll throw in the PCI slot and kind of double up. So I'm going to pair the microserver with the Drobo S. That'll give me the ability of 9 drives in there. And I should be okay from from a storage standpoint. I should be.
Unless you get into video.
Yeah, no, and that I bought that server intentionally not to do video, just because it's not very powerful. And the transcoding would just crush it if you're going to try and do the transcoding there. So up and running, it's in the back. I'm sure I'll reference it from time to time, and in the stuff that we do, it's good to have it. $250 is a great deal, and
Did that come with any drives, Jim?
It came with a single 250 gig, 7,200 RPM drive. So pretty good deal. It's all complete, Gary. So it's for 250, It's everything you need. Just I took it out of the box and turned it on.
How much RAM?
2 gig. 2 gig. Had a 2 gig and a 4 gig configuration. Of course, I can always bump that up to 4 if I want to. Running a single OS on it and Windows Home Server in the configuration I am, 2 gigs should be fine for what I'm doing. Putting 2 more in there would be pretty simple task if I find I need to do that.
Yeah, the couple I've built, we've bumped them up to 8 because the people using them were transcoding.
Yeah.
And the extra memory gives you transcoding overhead for your memory load.
Yeah. Would you really want to transcode though with that low power chip? I mean, runs at about 35 watts.
No, I wouldn't.
Full power.
I found I did a lot of testing over the last year with transcoding, and of course, I'm a big subsonic user, and basically I found that if you're going to go with like 1080p, the only thing I have in the house that'll actually do a decent job of transcoding that without a lot of spinning wheel activity and buffering is my desktop, which is a Core i7 quad core.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, my AMD quad core chips in my servers, and what have I got? I got an E8400 dual core in my HP home server. Will do a fair job of anything up to 720p. And actually, I can get away with most of the stuff with 1080i with television. Recorded TV will come through. But once you go beyond 1080i, the only thing I got in here that'll handle it is the Core i7 quad core.
Mm.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So, the bottom line is the more CPU power you have, the better off you are. But the neat thing too I learned, is that if you pre-format your video in a format that whatever you're going to play back on can automatically handle, then you don't have any transcoding, and zip,
right.
It just
yeah.
streams direct, and you can do that off of almost any platform as long as you don't have transcoding involved.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Tim had said in chat, 16 gig of RAM and Newegg today is $69 or $70.
Yeah, they had 65 on sale today.
Yeah.
16 gig of Ripjaw DDR3.
Max support on this motherboard's 8 gigs, so I wouldn't need to go that much. But yeah, at some point, maybe if I need to, I'll bump that to 4 or 8. I can't see a need for 8 on that little chip. And the intent is to have it be a low power. I spent some time with Rich this weekend. He was just interested in, I swap PCs with my son, and actually the Skype box I'm using now is a Pentium 4 from like 1969, and it's I got 2 gig of RAM in it, and it runs at about 105 watts, right? Just humming along. Probably right now I'm at 85 or 90% CPU just running Skype on this thing, right? So this is how far we've come. In fact, I can check it. I'll check it right now. Let's just take a peek at this. Yeah, 97, between 90 and 97, and I don't have the kilowatt meter hooked up to it because I had hooked it up to the microserver. About 100, yeah, like I said, 100, 105. Microserver runs at a cool, somewhere between 30 and 40 maybe on a regular basis. I haven't monitored a ton, but I have looked at it and never got it to spike above 40. So definitely a fuel saver, so to speak, when it comes to, operational efficiency. And pretty amazing how far we've come from, they built those chips to get faster and faster and faster. So it seemed like the megahertz war was on. And then we've gone in the reverse direction. The chips have still gotten faster, but they've gotten a ton cooler and a lot more efficient in the process.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I'm looking at I was going to say I'm looking at a microserver actually for my next desktop machine.
Really?
Throw a passive video card in it, and should be able to replace what I've got because it'll actually be better powered than what I'm currently using, but draw about a quarter of the power. CPU wise.
Maybe Andrew, I'll take you up on that, and I'll just mess around with it. Maybe I'll throw Windows 7 on a hard drive and throw that in there and see how it does. Gary, you were going to say something.
Yeah, if you build these things, it's just something to be aware of. That you can find. Usually the low power CPUs are harder to find, but if you watch out and you grab them when they're available at a reasonable price, like I've got my AMD quad core, which runs at 2.6 gigahertz, is a 65 watt rated CPU, and with what have I got in there? I got like 6 hard drives in there. And it pulls about 65 watts, which isn't really bad. I mean,
not for
and it's got a ton of power, and it's fast. It's got dual LAN in it. So, yeah, you're standing down around 65 watts for something that's on 24/7. It's not a bad deal.
Yeah. Yeah, well, there's a lot. There's a lot to be said for that, and you kind of got to watch your chips. I think there's. I've seen a lot. Of course, there's some new Atom chips, 2500 and the D2500s and the D27, which that Lenovo was. I'm not sure they're even available yet commercially. That was the delay on these Lenovos, is those chips weren't available yet. You can't expect horsepower out of some of those, but at the same time, for most people. That works just fine. I've got that E350, that AMD 350, and that HP DM1Z little netbook that I've got, Andrew, and that thing hums right along for most, for most applications. If I put a solid state drive in there, the thing would just fly. I would feel, and that's the next kind of the upgrade for it. So there's some.
Yeah, I've been looking at a little Zotac machine with the same processor in it to build an HTPC. So
right. Yeah, I'd make a great one.
Yeah, something that I'll just clip onto the back of the television. Comes with an infrared remote, set up for media center, and again, as you said, with an SSD in it, it should fly along.
Go speak of the devil. How long I've been waiting. I just figured I'd check while we were talking. Andrew, maybe they just came out with the Fit PC3.
Ah.
I just happened to think about it because I know we'd talked about the Fit PC2, which had the Atom in it.
Oh, yeah.
The 3 is out. So I got the website up. And is
that Fit PC?
Yeah.
Is it called
I went
Fit?
to fit-pc.com.
Okay. And those are ultra small, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're tiny.
Yeah, so I'll have to read through that and get all the hot specs on that and see where that's going.
Actually, I've got one of the thoughts is I've got out in the living room, I've got a shuttle case that has an Atom 525 in it with about 4 gig of RAM. Super cheap to build. About a year ago, I put it out there kind of as a stopgap measure for Media Center, and then our Xbox burned out, and so it's doing all the DVD and all the TV recording and such. But I wouldn't mind getting just a little HTPC maybe this spring, and then pulling that box back and making a desktop out of it, or making a broadcast server like I have now. Certainly, it would run a little more efficiently and better than this P4 that I'm running off. I'll be honest, guys, it's amazing that I've even got this thing running. And what's amazing to me is my kids are playing games on this thing for the last 6 years. I mean, they've really been just killing it. And I thought, we did. I bought this thing from Dell about 6 or 7 or 8 years ago, and it is just hummed along. The hard drive was starting to go bad, and so I replaced that, but it keeps moving along. So doesn't mean they're always gone, but certainly I draw way more power than I should with it. I've got it set to just sleep, and I only use it for the podcast. So when I'm done, it shuts itself down. For the most part, goes into a power-saving mode and basically turns itself off. And I ought to just shut it down, to be honest with you, and then turn it back on during the week when I'm doing the podcast. So check if you ever want to be scared and you think you have an old PC, you can pick yourself up a little kilowatt meter and plug that in. It'll tell you exactly how many watts it's pulling. And if it's 100 or more, you've got a pretty expensive light bulb that you're running all the time.
Oh, yeah.
So
the most powerful Fit PC3 draws 18 watts.
Oh, yeah. And that would run Windows 7 just fine, right? I mean, for most stuff that you're doing, little tiny box, about the size of your hand. I mean, it's not very big at all. So it's pretty amazing where we've gone. Well, last thing for me, last but not least, this weekend I got tired of my Galaxy S phone. Kept locking up on me, and I kept having problems with it. And it was just a little slow, to be honest with you. So I went out, traded it in, and picked up the Galaxy 2 S or Galaxy S2, whatever they, dual core, 1.6 gigahertz, I believe, 1.5. Dual core, actually probably more powerful than the PC we were just talking about.
No doubt.
And probably more memory than that. And have had great running Android Gingerbread, and a different version. Actually, Samsung has changed the Android version a little bit, even than their original Galaxy phone. A little bit better, worked out some kinks with it, and so it's been a nice little phone to have. 8 megapixel camera in it that takes 1080p video, and I'm pretty excited about it. I'm kind of back on the chain gang, so to speak. with it. I would just felt kind of like that other phone would let me down. When I needed it the most, it would just lock up. It almost like knew that I needed it, and then it would be like, oh, sorry, I can't do anything for you.
To you. It was calling to me. It was going, Jim,
Yeah,
you need
I spent
upgrade.
too much money on it. But fortunately, I was in a window with Sprint where they are going to honor their Premier program, which I'd been in for the last couple of years, where I got to upgrade every year. But that ends December 31st, and I would have had to wait till next September to upgrade again. So it's one of those kind of deals where you're like, do I wait and go next September, or do I go, I need to go right now before the end of the year? And I just decided to pull the trigger and drop out for a new phone. So far, so good. Dropped the apps on it. Have really liked it. It's got a big screen. One hang up is it's just a little wide for a single hand. And so sometimes if you're trying to single hand it and thumb it, it's just a little too wide, which I'm not complaining about.
I was just going to say, I'll swap you my Evo 3D for that.
You lose. Well, the scary thing is you lose grip on it, and it starts sliding out of your hand. And so you got to be careful not to. Several times I've lost the grip and had to kind of ninja catch it before it goes to the ground. So if I.
Terrible? Isn't it terrible when you feel that you're dropping it? It's like, no.
I'm throwing my body in front of it so it doesn't hit the ground. Yeah. Yeah. So good stuff. So it's been that has been a good solid upgrade for me, and have really enjoyed it. So. Okay, Andrew, we've neglected your items for the last couple of weeks. You have graciously held back. What do you got for us?
The first one's a bit of a frustration point for me at the moment. Had an old about 3.5-year-old TomTom in-car navigator, which the digitizer on it decided it was going to do the bunk on me last week. So the only part of the screen that I can actually press and have anything work now is the far right-hand side, and it makes it feel like I'm pressing the left. So I've been going through the whole exercise of trying to find something in a current Satnav unit that actually has the features of one that's 3.5 years old.
Yeah. Now, so you're going to, you don't want to just use your phone for navigation?
Not really. I like to use my phone as a phone.
Okay.
I mean, I like Google navigation and all, and I've had a go with Navigon and with Copilot on the Android, but I'm running a 1 gigahertz single core phone, and it just
a little too much for it.
Yeah, it's just a tad slow. It's okay if you need to look up a traffic status with Google Maps or something like that, but it doesn't quite give you the recalculation of a route or something like that. And I don't think the phone-based navigation is quite advanced enough for what I'm looking for at the moment.
Okay, all right.
But it's amazing how frustrating it is to try and find something that ticks all boxes these days.
Well, I mean, I have not looked at, because I use my phone, I have not looked at a navigation device in 2 years probably.
So
say that again?
Are you using the Google navigation?
Yeah, I just use Google Maps or whatever. Yeah, the nav. In most cases, I'm just using Google Navigation now.
Yeah.
And that's worked just fine for me. But is TomTom and Garmin and some of those other, are they still developing? I mean, are they really? I know they've gotten kind of cheap, but are they making upgrades to those things? Do they see that eventually they'll be replaced?
Yeah, I tend to think that they probably will be. I mean, TomTom are definitely moving into the iPhone space, which sort of leaves me thinking, does that mean my next phone may be an iPhone, and then I will converge my devices?
Yeah, right. And the answer is yes.
Well, it's definitely a thinking point, isn't it? I mean, if you can mount that phone in the right space on the dash of your car, and it becomes that all-in-one device that ticks all the boxes, and maybe that is the way to go. I'm not entirely sure.
That's pretty much what I've done. Is I integrated the subsonic for the music, which comes in and pipes it to the stereo on Bluetooth, and I've got the navigation up on screen all the time. And if a call comes in, I hit the button on the steering wheel and it answers the phone, and it just switches to whichever one I need when I need it. It automatically turn left, in 500 feet. And, it just, it's all in one device. So for me, it's been a godsend. And it takes a little horsing around to get all three applications working at the same time without, getting it set up properly so they're not stepping over each other incorrectly and whatnot, and passing the audio to the stereo system. But once you get all the kinks worked out, it's way cool.
Yeah, okay.
That's, oh, go ahead, Andrew.
And are you using the Google navigation as well, Gary?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Andrew, do you have some reservations about Google navigation?
I tend to think in Australia it's not quite good enough.
Okay.
And we do have the odd period where you go through a black hole for cell phone coverage.
Oh, okay.
So unless you got the caching of the map, then I tend to think that you may have the odd time where you'll be okay. Where do I turn now?
Yeah, but that shouldn't affect it though, because you should be still getting a satellite signal.
Okay, so the map caches to the device.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. In a lot of cases, yes.
Okay.
I've never had a period where I've gone through dead space for cell signal and lost the functionality of the GPS.
Now, I have, Gary. So across western Nebraska, once you get west of Grand Island, it drops. But let me tell you what it does, right? So it drops it down to kind of a basic map. You don't get all the features, but it has the roads. It's got, it's got where it's at, and it stays on because it does stay connected to the GPS. I just don't.
If they ain't got a cell signal, there ain't nothing else to see anyway.
No, you're probably right, and our friends in Ogallala, Nebraska, might want to differ with you, but they're wrong too. No, you're right. It's at least for Sprint now. Verizon's probably a little different, but across western Nebraska, the Sprint signal is pretty weak, and you need that data signal to get updated maps. But so Andrew, when I travel across and I use the GPS, it gets a little spotty, but it keeps. First of all, I'm just traveling. Do I really need a GPS to keep me online on the interstate? Right. In that case, yeah. But I see your point. I do see your point.
Yeah, I think from my part, I use it a lot as a more accurate speedometer as well. One of the things we have happening here in Australia is we have a lot of speed cameras, be it fixed mobile, red light cameras.
Right.
So, we're always very cognizant of the fact that we need to keep our speed in a legal window, I guess.
Sure. Yeah, in some municipalities here in the U.S. too, that's starting to catch on.
That's depressing.
We don't have that anywhere here in Nebraska, but Iowa does.
Can be carried.
I want to put my foot on the floor, and I don't want to be asked anything about it. I just want to go.
Yeah. Well, Andrew, so you're at this point still looking for a replacement?
At the moment, I've resorted to eBay to try and buy the one that's just died.
All right. Yeah. Well, you get used to something, right? You kind of, how it works.
Yeah, exactly. And Michelle has exactly the same unit, so it means that we transpose everything between the two cars, and it's an interesting challenge.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, well, I remember, a couple of years back, GPS units were just everything, and they had their time in the sun, but that sun was not up very long, and I see most folks using their phone or putting, what I'm going to look for next is a little carrier for my car that fits this large of a, large of a phone, because it's so it's so wide.
They're out there. Mine opens up. Geez, it opens up wide enough.
Yeah. I want one of those that sticks to the window and comes down. Sticks to that. That's really what I need, and then right up underneath the rearview mirror. So.
I don't want anything in my field of vision across the dashboard. It's too easy to get something caught in a blind spot. But
yeah.
I like it down at dashboard level. I usually mount it right about where the heat registers are on the dashboard.
Yeah, there's a company in the States, I think, called holdmyphone.com, who make all screen mounts and dash mounts and whatnot. So that could be an option for you, Jim.
I'll have to check it out. It's Christmas, and I've already bought too many things for myself, so I've been kind of... I'm just saying. Speaking of buying things for yourself, you're lusting after an Ultrabook, my friend?
Yeah. I made the when I was doing the Satnav recon, I made the mistake of having a look through the computer department as well, and yeah, it's amazing the notebooks that are coming out now that are, Windows platform with the size and look and feel and horsepower of a MacBook Air.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at them going, 9-hour battery life, Core i5 processor, running Windows.
I looked at that Asus ZenBook UX31. Nice machine.
Yeah.
And that one almost looks identical to, I mean, you could almost send that in for a warranty replacement to Apple.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought the same when I looked at that one, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, wow, that is pretty darn close. They didn't do much to kind of hide the fact that they ripped off the design.
Yeah, which is interesting, isn't it? Because Apple are all too happy to go after you if you've got a phone that looks like an iPhone.
Right. Andrew, didn't you just get a new laptop for work?
Yeah, I did. I got an EliteBook 8460p.
Okay.
But it's nowhere near as thin as an Ultrabook.
Yeah, it's a little more horsepower, right?
Yeah. It's a Core i5 2460, I think it is. So, as a corporate machine, it's a nice power thing. I can run 4 or 5 different VMs on it at a given time, and Core i5 2520M, sorry. So 2.5 gig. Jacked it full of memory, and it's a nice thing, but I'm sort of leaning towards not using my work machine as a personal one anymore.
Yeah, it's a good idea. Kind of separate those out.
Yeah.
What I've found. I mean, I carry 2, which seems silly, but it really is. I don't know. I'm a lot more comfortable with it too. Yeah.
So that's where I'm moving towards, and it becomes the argument I was looking at a long time ago was I'll get a MacBook, form factor, etc. And now I'm leaning back towards Windows because I really don't know that I want the learning curve.
Yeah. You almost had Mike Howard crawling through the Skype chat. Yeah, I actually run the show. I run the studio software off the Mac. Here I've got a Mac G4. It's old, super old, but that's I don't, not that it's good or bad or different. I just don't want to relearn all that. I don't want to have to figure all that stuff out, where all the little ins and outs are. I'm a Windows guy. I mean, and that's fine. It works.
Yeah, and I think that's what's driving me back towards saying, this thing looks the business now.
Right.
The form factor's there, the battery life's there. They come with I think pretty much the base model for most is now a base hard drive is a 128 gig SSD. So you've got the performance, you've got the form factor.
You have an SSD in that?
Yeah, they come stock with SSD.
I'm jealous. Nice work.
Yeah. So I'm looking at it going, well, yeah. HP's got one coming out. Maybe I'll splash out when it hits.
Yeah, I'm hoping next summer to pick up some SSDs and drop those in our hard drive or in our laptops, and that'll upgrade. We've got really I have 3 laptops in the house that would benefit immediately from an SSD. So hopefully prices will rebound on hard drives, on spinning hard drives, and that'll drive the SSD prices back down a little bit. I think those popped up a little bit too, just because I think people were thinking, oh, if it's this expensive to buy a spinning drive, I might as well just buy the SSD, and so that drove prices up a little bit too. I think once the market gets flooded again with hard drives, we'll be back to ultra low prices, and SSDs hopefully will follow down with it. Andrew, for the last couple of weeks, you've thrown in this this online magazine publisher. What's that all about?
Yeah, the WRX club that I'm involved with, we've looked for about the last 12 years had a full color printed magazine, and with the cost of printing magazines and the like and whatnot, and editorial costs and everything, we've been looking for some other options, and one of the things that came up is a website called issue.com, which is ISSW.com.
It's a great way to spell that, by the way.
Yeah,
ISSUU.
Yeah, you've got issues if you can't. If you need
How do you spell that?
I think issue.com spelt the normal way goes there as well.
That's how you spell it in Australia, right? ISSUU, right?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, our English isn't that broken yet.
Anyways, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, so what it gives you, the ability to author an online magazine, which then you can have subscribed through RSS readers and downloadable as PDFs. So we're looking to move our entire quarterly publication into a purely online format, and this was one of the things that came up. And they've got, I think at the moment they've got a couple of thousand online magazines being published by various people, and some of them are getting hundreds of thousands of views a month.
So what's the free version get you here? That is basically the ability to create your own and then post it?
Yeah, so you get the ability to post a magazine, and then they have a paid version as well, which gives you better statistics about how your magazine's being read and where it's being read by, and things like that. So 2 versions, kind of a very, very cool system or offering. And they won the web. They got an honourable mention in the Webby Awards for 2009 and 2010, I think.
Of course, the audience for this is tablet devices, right? Folks that want to read these things on tablets. I mean, that's the main target audience, right?
Yeah, tablet or browser reading. I don't tend to read a heck of a lot via the tablet, just because the WebOS tablet isn't that great for something like this. But browser reading, sitting at the desk at lunchtime or something like that, that's quite easy to grab an electronic magazine and throw it up on the 24-inch widescreen and flip through it.
My good, I shouldn't say my good friend, because he doesn't even know who I am, but I listen to a lot of Craig Ferguson, or watch Craig Ferguson on the Late Late Show here in the U.S. And of course, Craig is from Scotland. I find him very, very funny. But one of the things he says all the time is when he'll talk about newspapers, and he'll say, "Kids, those are like a paper blog." Right? And it's kind of funny that that we are that we may come at as we look at magazines, right? We may come a day when what's a magazine? That may completely go by the wayside.
Where do I download that magazine thing from?
Right. Oh, yeah. Yeah, and people will say, "Remember when these used to come to your door?"
Yeah,
something like that.
Back in the old days.
Yeah, back in the old days. All right, when it's the 3 of us together, we always talk about the old days. You've got something in here talking about a Skype replacement for the iPhone and Android.
One of the guys at work was who travels quite a lot. Introduced me to this one. It's a product called Viber, which is Viber, and it's a voice over IP client for the Android and iPhone platform, which is a lot lighter than Skype. So one of the things for people with the lower powered smartphones is that Skype is fairly processor intensive, and this app seems to be a lot less processor and memory intensive, and even from a bandwidth perspective, if you're in a fairly low bandwidth area, it seems to give you a lot better voice quality, and it integrates right into the phone, into your address book. On the Android platform, you can jump into your People application, select someone who's running it, and then just dial them straight through Viber instead of a normal cellular network.
But that's peer-to-peer, right? So they got to be in the Viper network.
It is. They need to be on the Viper network. But you subscribe as your cell phone number as opposed to subscribing as a user.
Okay. Can you use your Google Voice number as your subscriber number?
I guess. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Well, we don't have Google Voice in Australia, so
okay.
Colonial Outpost, remember?
Yeah. We really need to get you guys just consumed into the United States.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm about ready to move. You got now that Andrew's got a decent web connection, I'm
You're thinking
Melbourne's
not a bad place to live, huh?
but of course, with the speed cameras, I might just have to build a desert buggy. That's all.
There's no place safe, Gary. There's no place safe. Yeah, Andrew, I'm always a little hesitant because everybody lives. That's like trying to move off Facebook, and there's a little battle brewing between my friends right now, local friends between Facebook and Google Plus. And so I'm starting to see is anybody using Google Plus? What's Google Plus is dead, and so that's to move, because I'd love to, with Sarah having the iPhone and me having the Android, of course, Skype would be the right way to communicate that way. But Skype is really bad on the iPhone. It's really bad, awful. And so, and of course, if they would have Google Hangout capabilities on phones, which I'm sure is coming at some point, but that would work, but that's not available yet. So we still don't have great options for video.
For database video or database communication,
Yeah. So
it's a bit of a paradigm shift, isn't it, compared to where we were a few years back? A few years back we were all sitting there going, I can call you on an unlimited voice plan, and now we're looking at it going, how can I call you using my data plan?
No, right on. Right. Nobody calls anymore. I mean, we used to, that was the way to do it, right? And we begged for unlimited. And as soon as it went unlimited, it was like, oh no, I want to text.
Yeah.
How does that, you're telling me, how does that work? And text is horribly convenient, and I know why, because people can send it and it doesn't, it's for low priority messages, right? That can be picked up at any time. And it is horribly convenient. But that is odd. My younger kids all have phones now. We ditched our voice line and went all cell. And they use 2 or 3 minutes of voice a month. They don't even know how to call. You mean, they're like, so why don't you call me? Oh, well, I don't know how to do that on my phone. Are you kidding me? No, it's not what they said, but it's kind of like that, with the kids. They just.
There was an article or a news story, I think it was just last week, about a company that informed all of its employees that they would no longer be using email. They want everything done on a social network.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, a little bit of so a couple of years ago, I was meeting with some guy, and I told him how broken email has gotten, especially in the corporate world. It's very broke, and it's abuse, and it's horrible for the most part. And I said, there'll come a day when we'll ditch, email will go by the way, will go away for the most part. And Collison, you're crazy. That'll never happen. And I think we're beginning to see. Some of that. There's some cracks in it. It's just a broken system. And we would at Gallup, if we shut down email tomorrow, we go out of business. I mean, we're so dependent on it. But there will come a day when things will change to more, voice or video or text or that kind of communication that's not so permanent. Most of our communication, I would figure about 60 or 70% of our communication is disposable, but email keeps everything.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
And so,
I still get the phone call saying, do you remember we worked on a project 6 years ago and someone sent an email about blah, 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 blah. And I'll go, let me go back to my mail server, which is how I refer to my Outlook mail, PST files. And invariably I can find it.
Yeah. But it shouldn't be there, Andrew.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But
that kind of data, right? So you have unstructured data that's important to the organization that's buried behind an account that only you can get to.
Yeah, and if I leave, it's gone.
Yeah, right. They just clear it out. So I don't think from a business process standpoint we've thought all the way through that. And I'm not saying, when I say we, I'm not talking about where I work, because we have, but I think collectively we don't necessarily think about that, and that if it's that important, it should have made its way onto a collaboration site of some sort.
Don't say SharePoint.
Yeah. Well, notice I said collaboration site, right? And wiki or I'm a big advocate for using a WordPress blog for documentation purposes. I mean, I think a blog is a perfect platform for documentation for a system. Because the way, it lays things out in order. It's crawlable. You can do a lot of stuff with it. You can add text. You can add pictures. I mean, there's tons of things that you can attach. We put attachments to a post. It's a great way of doing that. But when I said a couple years ago to a bunch of technology people, hey, let's use a blog for our documentation format. What? Are you kidding me? Someday someone will say, hey, let's use a blog to...
And you'll go, oh, there's a novel concept.
There's a great idea. So anyways, I think there's some different ways to think about that, from an email perspective. So, Gary, from your own, are you using Outlook at home?
Oh, yeah.
And you have a mail server, right?
No, I just use it to bring in my Verizon email account.
Oh, okay.
And I'm the same way, though. I store everything. Yeah. I got copies from 1994 or whenever.
Right. Yeah, most do. For sure. So, okay. Andrew, do we get to everything that we've been ignoring you on for the last couple weeks?
I think we have.
Wow.
Oh, my God.
You're caught up. You're up to date.
I'm caught up.
Gary, last week, congratulations, by the way. You're caught up, Andrew. Take the rest of the day off.
Okay.
Hey, it's Friday afternoon for you, right?
It is.
It's a nice day outside.
Yeah.
As he looks outside. Oh, maybe I'll take the rest of the day off.
It's so hot I've got to have the air conditioning on, so I'll stay inside, I think.
Okay. That's not that hot.
Oh, it is.
Gary, last week, Christian talked a little bit about his IX web hosting nightmare. Now, don't disparage me, because he had talked me into IX web hosting, and I'm still there.
It's okay. The thing that you have to be aware of is we just found out incrementally that I think they've changed. You read if anybody's interested in getting into web hosting and using a third party to host a website, you read through the terms of service agreement, and it basically says we can alter this agreement anytime we want for any reason we want. And so it's basically there are no terms of service other than when the web host company decides that your bandwidth or consumption of resources exceeds a certain level, they can just do whatever they want to do. And that's what's happened to us. The first limitation that we ran into, which you guys probably may have heard about, was we have a school that we administer the website for, a music school where Christian takes his music lessons, and they needed to send out a shotgun email to everybody that's subscribed to the school, so all the students and families, which is about 300 emails. Well, that was our first big disruption, where IX wouldn't send out that many emails in one shot through that account. So they limited how many emails a single user could send out. So we had to resolve that problem by using an SMTP server and rerouting through SendGrid, and bottom line, we got it working.
I remember Christian working on that.
One, yeah.
Right. Now the next problem comes up. Most of you probably are aware that one of Christian's primary activities is running bios-mods.com, where they crack just about every known BIOS out there and allow you to, enable the hidden features and to slip the BIOS code and do a lot of customizations to the BIOS so that you can upgrade your CPU, et cetera, et cetera. Well, that site was getting upwards of, trying to think where they cut us off, but I think he was up to 300 simultaneous connections on the site. And so they shut the site down because we were using too many resources.
Right.
But you go to the website where you sign up for this stuff. Oh, unlimited space, unlimited this, unlimited that. They don't ever tell you that if you build a popular site that people actually want to go to, that what they do is they start to throttle you and shut you down, and then they try to sell you their VPS service and bump you up to the more expensive stuff. So what we did was we said, okay, if we have to move to a VPS, we'll do that, but not with you guys. So if you go to bios-mods.com right now, it is actually up and running on the new VPS server, which we're paying $3 a month for.
Right. Yeah, he worked a pretty sweet deal there.
Yeah,
sure.
So, but it's like anything else. You know, if you do enough Google searches, you find what you want. And he's put in a lot of time on it because you have to set up your own operating system on the share, and you got to build everything from scratch, and there's no support. It's just,
right.
Yeah, here you go. $3 a month, it's yours. You know?
Which is why it's $3 a month.
Exactly.
It's not for the faint at heart. I mean, this is not your average guy stuff.
But I just, you know, I'm really ticked off. I mean, we've been with IX for like 4 or 5 years. We've got probably 8 or 9 websites active, and they pull this on us. It's like, okay, not a problem. I got the message. So we're moving elsewhere. You should be all right on your site unless the volume and the traffic gets to a point.
So far, so good. You know, we get maybe a couple hundred hits a day. So not going to push that threshold yet.
Yeah, he's getting, I think, what is it, like 3,000 unique IPs a month?
Oh, I think it might be more than that. He was spouting off some pretty ridiculous numbers for us last week. And
yeah, no, it's gone through the roof.
Yeah, I'm still amazed. That is such a small niche. And
well, he's permeated Google, so anytime anybody does a motherboard search, a BIOS search, or whatever, bingo, bios-mods.com pops up and directs you right to the site. So
right, yeah, but still, I mean, it's still such a niche, but it's doing real well. I mean, good for him. He's built a nice site, and I know he's grown that thing 4-fold, 5-fold since he took it over.
Oh yeah,
a couple of years ago. He's done a nice job on it.
Yeah, phenomenal.
Yeah, well, I think Gary, I think you're right. The lesson in that is not don't use IX web hosting, although that might be true. But I'm
be
still
prepared.
I'm still their customer. Yeah, unlimited. I think we know this, right, from the cell phone deal, that unlimited does not necessarily mean unlimited. And you know, I got that nice letter from my internet service provider that said, "Hey, we got this nice little tool that you can check your bandwidth with." Yeah. And I'm like, "Oh, really? What? Why?" And then at the bottom of the email, it was like, "Well, you know, we actually only want you to use 200 gig a month, and you're using 400." And so that's the beginning. I mean, they're starting to fire some shots across the bow. It won't be long, I think, before I get metered in some way, which changes my backup strategy a little bit in the way I use cloud storage, I think. This weekend I kind of cleared out. I use Voila, and I have 160 gig there, and so it's enough to kind of cover everything I've got. And so, you know, I just cleared it out. I was like, well, it's been a while. It's kind of messy, so I just deleted all the shadow copies, all the versions. I took the thing back to the Stone Age, and then I said reload, and it, there goes 120 gig. Right up to the, over the course of about 3 days, it moved about 120 gig, 3 or 4 days, 120 gig up there. And, well, on a 200 gig bandwidth cap, that's a lot, if that's going to really be the case. And so I think the message to people listening, you should know which caps are if you have them, or you should, unlimited does not necessarily always mean unlimited.
No. Yeah. Christian now, he wants me to call Microsoft and see if we can get one of those box trailers, where they dump the whole unit into the backyard, and wants me to hook up a T3 line in the backyard. And, it's like, yeah,
he wants to be his own hosting provider.
He does.
Why don't you just get a Google box buried in your back garden?
Yeah, so that's coming.
He might own Google eventually.
I hope so.
Nothing. Yeah. Yeah, for your retirement's sake, right?
Amen.
Very
Just
good.
to pay the tuition in college.
Do you have a new case?
Yeah, this is one that's why I know for a while back you were talking about your solution, so I just put it up on the Lee and Lee,
right? Lee and Lee PC.
Yeah, the PC Q25B will hold 7 3.5-inch hard drives, and looks like a pretty nice unit if you want to do a build with a mini ITX motherboard. So, yeah, probably more expensive than the the off-the-shelf HP unit you're running, but
yeah, a little bit. I mean, about half
could,
the price of the unit I just bought.
Right, but you could pack a lot of power in a little bit of space.
Yeah, yeah. Well, ironically, in this microserver, right? I mean, so it's got the 4 drives that are SATA, rated in there. So it's on a RAID card. That's on the board. And then it's got an open SATA connection, but I could put another card in there, and I could drop an IC dock 4-bay,
sure.
that fit inside a 5 1/4 inch, and get 4 more laptop drives in there if I wanted to.
Yep.
And then I could, plug a plethora of USB drives on it. So.
Oh yeah, and there's those other towers too. I'm trying to think who makes them, but there's a lot of towers where you can pop SATA drives in.
Yeah.
And connect them up.
No, this is certainly a very nice case. I think this case has made its way around the home server show community.
Probably.
I think I heard the BYOBs talking about it a while back as well.
No.
It's a nice looking unit from the pictures on Newegg. Looks like it'd be a nice one to build with.
It's if you're going to do the full Fauché, it's required to buy this case. So.
But different strokes for different folks. I get more fun out of the building the hardware. That's what I enjoy doing. If I got an afternoon where I can sit with, hard drives and CPUs and my little screwdrivers and, put the stuff together, I really enjoy doing that.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of fun to me.
There is fun in that. I do enjoy it. I am kind of looking forward to this. I'm going to mod this microserver box a little bit, and I'm kind of it's not a full build, but I'm going to do a few modifications, pack some things in there, change some things around. So that's kind of fun. I was glad it didn't come with an external power supply. Everything's built right into it. So that is cool. So no, I hear you from that perspective. Well, we're running out of time, but Gary, I know Conan O'Brien, I think it was Conan O'Brien, used to have a segment called In the Year 2000. And he would, you ever remember that? And he would take a flashlight and make predictions. You have a few predictions for the future here you want to throw out there?
Yeah, I just a lot of stuff rolling around in the back of the old gray matter, and as I do a lot of reading and research, I'm if desktops are even a thing that exists in the next few years, I think within 2 years you're not going to see hard drives on anything for the home anymore. I think it's a thing of the past. They're all going to, SSDs are going to be replacing the hard drives for typical desktop and home usage and tablets and laptops and things of that nature. And you saw with this crisis with the hard drives from the flooding that really, you could get an SSD for a couple $100 and a decent sized hard drive was almost the same price.
Yeah,
so,
right.
I got to the point where I wasn't going to buy another hard drive. I was going to buy some SSDs for a change to upgrade the HTPC and things like that. But we did get some encouraging news that Western Digital is back online producing in Thailand, and I'm watching the Newegg, and some of the prices on the hard drives are starting to come down. So it looks like supply is starting to come back online. But one of the interesting articles I read was the prediction of the death of cable TV as we know it, that basically it's in its death throes and the handwriting's on the wall. Verizon this week announced that they're going to be rolling out a on-demand Netflix-like video on-demand, movies on-demand service. So the article I was reading was saying that within 5 years, the traditional cable service that we know is more than likely going to be kind of like the standard phone lines that that we have now that nobody uses.
Right.
The other thing that I got some good news to report. I know you did a show on it, but we've had a Silicon Dust HD Home Run Prime on the network for a couple months now that we did have a lot of problems with.
Oh, really?
And yeah, just it worked, but it had some glitches, and it wasn't working well over wireless. And their latest update of their drivers and their firmware seems to be much, much better. It has addressed those issues, and The last test I ran, I actually had 3 wireless devices running live TV and was doing other things on the network and stressing it with other wireless devices at the same time, and everything held solid. So,
oh, good.
Another neat thing that we actually did was we set up virtual private networking on the tablet, and while I was in Baltimore over Thanksgiving, we connected to the server at home and to the HD Home Run Prime, and we were able to watch Verizon cable on my tablet over a VPN connection from
nice.
400 miles away. So,
yeah, that's pretty amazing.
So yeah, it's come full circle, and it looks like it's ready for prime time. And I would say anybody that's reasonably comfortable with network devices, it's a ready for prime time product now.
Andrew,
I'm still waiting for my VPN account in the Maple Grove, the Maple Grove network, so that I can get my American cable fixed from Australia.
Yeah, well, talk to my tech; he'll fix you up.
Oh. What else? You got anything else? Any other predictions, Gary?
That was pretty much most of them. Like I say, I think that's the evolution. I just think hard drives are only going to be found on servers within a few years. They're going to be big, and they're just going to be on servers. And most people that need storage above and beyond what they need for their home products are just going to do it in the cloud. And the more sophisticated user, of course, will have his own home server. But
yeah. Well, we talk a lot about this on the Home Server Show, and of course, we unlimited bandwidth individuals, I have no problem moving some of my backup and storage to the cloud without any issues. But I know folks who want to watch video and some of the things like that, or have bandwidth caps. That's more difficult to, we are kind of conditioned to a certain set of conditions, one of those being unlimited bandwidth. And so some of those cloud solutions aren't quite ready for prime time, or at least ready for some of those. This is interesting. My home server just told me my password doesn't match.
Yeah, that's an old frequent problem. That
I hadn't seen that one in a while.
Yeah, I used to get that a lot with the version 1 software.
Yeah. Anyways, so it's yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think SSD will come up pretty quick here, and it once manufacturers start putting it in. Just like when we switched over from 32-bit to 64-bit, once the manufacturers switched it over, so goes the rest of the market. And so I expect to see, laptops coming out with when we get reasonably priced 120 or 160 gig SSDs, because you got to have a large enough drive to make that actually work.
Yeah, I was looking at 120s at $200. So, yeah, and that's what I say, I'm looking at, like I say, a 2 terabyte drive last week was like over $300.
Right.
And I'm like, well, wait a minute. Would I rather have a 2 terabyte, $300 storage device, or would I rather have a $200 SSD with 120 gigabytes on it? Yeah, I'm going to go for the 120 gigabyte drive if I'm going to spend that kind of money.
Yeah. Well, and my sweet spot has been $1 a gig. I've kind of set that as when the SSDs, when I can find them for $1 a gig, I'm in. And we're pretty close. I've seen a few deals and a few specials where that's in, but that's kind of that's kind of been my benchmark.
Yeah, I think that'll come back. If you go to Newegg right now, the OCZ Agility 3, 120 gigabytes SATA 3, $169.99.
Yeah.
So it's getting there.
Right. No, and we flirted with that $1 a gig right before this hard drive disaster.
Right, and that's right. Probably because the hard drives went up so much in price, the SSDs started to sell, and that may have delayed some of the.
Well, of course,
the price
coming down. Pushed the price of those up too, right? Because demand went up on those, and that pushes price up, and so, one disaster caused a rise in the price of the other. I think we're in for a dip. I'm just going to call it right here. I think the market is ripe right now for hard drives, and everybody is going to slam to get as many hard drives out as they can right now to to take advantage of $300 or whatever. I know the prices are starting to dip some, but they're still a little high, and that market will flood with drives that people can't sell, and they'll go back on sale. And I think
that's what I'm waiting for.
Yeah,
the Seagate, that's another one I had in my notes for the next week's show, but I'll bring it up now. Seagate next year is going to be coming out with their top of the line drive next year are all going to be hybrid drives. I've got one of the Seagate 2.5-inch hybrid Momentous drives that Christian's actually using in his netbook right now, and it's fast. It's a 7,200 RPM, 500 gigabyte drive with a 4 gigabyte SSD, kind of buffering between the drive and the platter.
Right.
So, he's getting real snappy performance out of that. And next year, the 3 gigabyte drives are supposed to be hybrid drives with, I think they're going to be running like 16 or 32 gigabyte SSDs in a hybrid setup with the drive. So that's kind of what I'm waiting for. I think I'll be buying the cheaper. I'm looking at the Crucial M4 for $209, 128 gigabyte SATA 3 drive. That looks like a pretty reasonable buy right now, but I'm going to hold off on any more hard drives until Seagate rolls out those new 3 gigabyte hybrids, and then it's time to do another array.
Yeah. And I don't like the hybrid idea. I'm not a big fan of that at all.
No?
No, it's just, I mean, I get the concept, but I'd rather just drop an SSD in there that's maybe 60 gig, put the OS on it, and then if I need more than 60, now you can't do this in a laptop, obviously, but if I'm going to do a laptop, then I'm going to move as much of that to the cloud as it can handle, right? If it's music that I'm trying to get, I'm just going to do it to Google Music or Amazon Music or whatever. So that's just my opinion. I mean,
but it's incredible. I mean, we were buying those Samsung F3 2 terabyte drives for $69 a pop.
Yeah, well, we had some specials out there. I mean, we've had some average guy deals out there for hard drives as of a couple months ago.
And right now on Newegg, that same drive is $199.
No, that's dumb.
It's like, whoa.
Yeah, it'll come back down. It'll come back down indeed.
Yeah, I've got $130 profit on each one of the drives sitting in my eight drive RAID array. It's like, yes, I love this.
Yeah, it's all paper money though, Gary.
Yes, it is.
It's all paper until you sell it.
Yeah, but the nice part about it is we got enough storage in house now that we don't have to buy a hard drive.
Right.
So it's really nice. That's another nice thing is when you really watch the prices of hardware and you grab the bargains, you really get yourself in a position where you're not at the mercy of the market when something does happen. You don't need, I got enough spare capacity that I'm not forced into buying a hard drive that's, 300-400% inflated over what it ought to be.
Right.
So
Yep. Yeah. No, right on.
Yeah, reaching that critical mass is a big advantage.
Yeah. It's definitely if you're a consumer, and this just makes sense, right? Watch for those deals, and when they come by, like memory right now, you should be upgrading everything.
Yeah.
To just as much memory as you can put in there, just because it's so cheap. So.
Yep.
Well, gentlemen, our time is up. Gary, thanks for coming in relief tonight of Christian. It's always good to have you on, and Andrew, thanks for coming out on your lunch break. And joining us all the way from Melbourne. It's always good to have you out as well. I'll remind folks that we'll be back next week out here Tuesday. We do this, Tuesday. We broadcast live. I don't even know what day it is. I'll just be honest with you. We broadcast live. Well, I do a live podcast now, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday nights. So I get a little confused. Each Thursday we are out here 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern if you want to join us live. If you've never listened live before, we'd encourage you to do that out at theaverageguy.tv/live. It's always fun, and of course you can put your comments in chat. Thanks, Rennie and Tim and Jay, for coming out and being in chat tonight and joining us in the show. Appreciate you guys doing that. If you have a comment, question, you want to send us something nice to say, we just throw away the evil comments, but send us an email, podcast@theaverageguy.tv. And, of course, you can subscribe. I always post a couple minutes before the show starts to let folks know, hey, we're out and live, and announcements about the podcast on Twitter, just at Jay Collison. Of course, you can find us on Facebook. Just search for The Average Guy Podcast. You can do the same thing in iTunes. That's an easy way to download it. And we have all the necessary links available out at The Average Guy TV. Gary, you're back next week, as well as you, Andrew. And I think we'll have it's you and Christian maybe next week. Well, you think we'll get Christian back, Gary?
Yeah, I don't see why not.
All right, good enough. And the dual facta will be in effect, and we'll have both Johnsons in the house. Dueling Johnsons.
Johnson and Johnson.
Very nice. Guys, have a good evening. We'll catch you back here next week on the Home Tech Podcast. Good night.
Night, Jim.
See you guys.
Andrew, did you want to say something? It looked like you wanted to say something, and I cut you off.
It's the pre-Christmas show next week.
Oh.
That's scary, isn't it? How fast does that come around?
Another one bites the dust.
Yeah. Well, no, because there's the 22nd and actually that would be the pre-Christmas show. So
yeah, just. Yeah.
And Lux said he can't make it, so I'm probably going to ask.
Don't let him tell you I told you, but
yeah.
22nd, that's Christian's birthday.
Oh.
Ooh.
You guys can sing happy birthday to him.
Where's my calendar?
I don't sing, but it's we'll at least wish him a happy birthday.
Yeah. Little bugger's going to be, what, 18? Oh, my God.
Really?
16, 17?
He's 17, right?
No, 94.
Didn't he just turn 16 last year?
94, 12. He's going to be 18. Yeah, going into senior year.
Okay.
Next year.
Well, I missed a year in there somewhere. I thought he was 16 this year, but he's 17.
He's 17.
Didn't he just... Okay.
22nd.
License. I don't know. Let's see. His birthday, he's in 94. 94.
2004.
7,
10. It's 8 years, 18.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Tim. Wow. 18.
Yeah.
Nice.
Time flies.
Making a note here.
It's getting big, too.
They tend to do that, don't they?
Yeah. I can honestly say I look up to my son.
Really? Is he taller than you?
I'm only 5'4".
Oh. Yeah, it's he's going to go places.
Yeah, he is. He's got a concert at Alice Tully Hall in New York City in February. And then his advanced ensemble has been invited to perform in Minnesota in front of the National Assembly of Suzuki Music Teachers. So he's got 2 advanced road trips this year.
When is that?
I'm not sure when the Minnesota gig is.
Because he's not far from me at that point. Maybe
really?
Yeah, he should tell him to let me know.
Yeah,
because that's depending on where in Minnesota exactly. But
we'll be at Alice Tully Hall in New York City between the 23rd and the 26th.
That's a little too far for me.
Of February.
Yeah,
but that's a premier venue. To be able to just get up on stage and I performed in Alice Tully Hall. I mean, it's like. Yeah, so did Zubin Mehta and Yitzhak Perlman and, all the big names. So, yeah, that's...
I've met Perlman.
Rennie said music teachers ride motorbikes. It's not that kind of Suzuki.
Yeah.
That's a good joke. That's a nerd joke. That's a music nerd joke.
Absolutely. But, so he's got a couple of neat ones. And his first concert this year with the Greater Buffalo Youth Orchestra was just phenomenal, just wonderful. They just put on a real nice show.
Yeah, I'd love to hear him play. He had sent me some, recordings, but there's not that kind of music that he plays. I mean, a recording just doesn't do any justice. You got to hear that with your ears.
Yeah, he and I could do an international, have an international jam. I've played Suzuki since I was 5.
Yeah, there you go.
Started at 4.5.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
You know, there was
teachers are
somebody,
gears.
some guy that was telling me there's this, and I can't remember the name of it now, but you can, maybe it's called Jam Session or Jambox or something like that. And you can plug in and create these collaborative music environments where you can
Right.
get, right, various people
Mm-hmm.
all over the world, whatever, can come together, and you can almost play in real time. I mean, it's the latency is very, very, you have to have, you know, I guess you'd have to have a really good connection and such, but you can jam with people and record,
Sure.
um, like, and be in separate places.
Well, that's another fun thing he loves to do is they've got a jazz ensemble at his high school, and they play for one of the local colleges. They play as the pep band for the college basketball games, and he loves to play jazz on his violin. So he fits into both venues, jazz or classical.
Really?
Either
Does he play
one.
anything else, or just violin?
Just about everything else. He'll pick up a guitar and start playing it. He'll
Really?
sit at a piano and start playing it. He picked up a
Nice.
saxophone and started playing it. I mean, he understands music, so
Right.
it's just a question. Oh, okay, this finger's which one, and you know,
Right.
it's yep, okay, and away he goes.
He gets
So,
the math behind the music.
yes,
He's able to process that math very, very quickly.
he understands the theory, and he's
Right.
been working. He plays in church a lot.
Right.
And one of the choir directors that he plays for is very, very good with music theory. So once a month he takes him back into the choir room, and he got a big blackboard back there, and he goes over chromatics and you know, all kinds of how to figure out harmonies,
Right.
and how to
Scales.
do things.
The mathematics behind the scales.
And how to blend in and just provide overtones. I mean, this
Right.
guy is really good at music theory and how to teaching him how to make sounds fit in given situations so that he can just play ad hoc and make it sound right, and really, really developed a lot of his talent that way.
Yeah, and you know,
fun.
sometimes the art in music is not what you play, but what you don't play.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, I've hung out with musicians long enough to know if you get a bunch of them together, they all want to play every single note, and of course that's just garbage, you know. and the mastery is understanding who's around you, and then how do you not all play the same note.
Well, and that's
time.
the other thing is, you know, you not only got to be able to play, but you got to be able to listen.
Right. Right.
Listen and to watch and
to yield.
Yeah, and,
you know?
and he's done a lot of live stage work where like musicals on stage and things like that, where he's been invited to play, where he's actually got to listen to the lead singers and the group, and you know, maybe they're not spot on, and maybe somebody's, you know, holding a note too long. Well, you got to adapt to that, and he's gotten very good at that. So it's a lot of fun to watch him play in those scenarios.
They're good fun. They're good fun to play in too. I used to get paid to play with a couple of the schools down here in Melbourne, and you know, we did Les Mis and you know all the old school stuff. You know, like you know, My Fair Lady and
Right.
Like, and you know, and Barnum, and you know, Phantom of the Opera and stuff like that as well.
You mean they've translated all that into Australian? Sorry, go ahead.
There's always a comedian.
Yo, I'm a zinger, Andrew. There's no doubt.
Oh, he's gotten me before. Trust me.
Yeah.
Sure.
But you know, I mean, at one stage, I think I had 4 violins, 2 clarinets, and an alto saxophone.
God bless.
You know, and I'm down now to 2 violins. I sold my electric. I had one of those funky looking nylon electric violins at once for a couple of years. They're a bit of fun. You can sort of get a bit of you know, really good jazz sound out of those once they're amplified properly.
Yeah, that's what Christian's using for the jazz band. He's got an electric that he uses. It's not as good as I'd like, so next time I get some extra cash, I want to bump up the quality of his electric.
Upgrade.
Yeah.
So is that a nylon, or is it a timber one with pickups in it?
I don't know. It's just a cheap one.
Yeah,
It was
But it's a timber violin, like a traditional violin with a mic in it.
No, it's got the electric pickup built in.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just plugs it into an amp, and away he goes.
Yeah, but is it made of wood or a synthetic material?
Oh, it's synthetic. It's like one of those skeleton-looking things.
Yeah.
It doesn't have a soundboard or any, a
Oh,
sound.
Yeah. You don't need that, right?
No sound post, nothing. It's just
Right.
Yeah, they're funky.
We have we just recently, our church, we do rock and roll music for the service, and so electric guitar, bass, drums. My son's the drummer and one of the drummers. But we just picked up a violin player, and she is fantastic. And so she plays rock violin, and it is. I mean, she gets it. Right? I mean, she's, and we're not like rock like headbang or acid. I mean, this is kind of Disney. It's Disney rock, right? I mean, that contemporary Christian music is that way today, and but it's amazing the value that a violin in that setting can bring. I mean, it's just it's another guitar, right? I mean, it's another lead instrument. And
the overtones that it can give a group is just phenomenal.
Just it completely changes the setting, and
sound.
She doesn't compete. We have a very, very good lead guitarist. I mean, this is a guy that would he'll throw down a Journey riff, and it's like, wow, that was pretty good. I mean, this kid's good. But those two, you would think they would be competitive in their sound, right, in their lead, and she is just so good. They're both really good at playing around each other, and so he'll play a lead, and then he'll foot pedal it out, and she'll come in, and could be playing the exact same thing, but because it's two different instruments, it completely changes the feel.
Well, I think that's the advantage of the orchestral setting, the training with the orchestra, where he's one of 80 instruments on stage, and he's not competing with anybody else, and he's just playing his part.
Right.
He's really learned to adapt that way very well, to just not overplay his hand.
Right. Yeah, because that's the key. I mean, I think that's the beauty, is not playing.
As last year, I think it was Guys and Dolls that he did, and we didn't even realize it until we went to the last performance to see the play, and all of the lead singers' music vocals were all led by the violin. And he just did a really, really wonderful job of being very gentle, very delicate, not overpowering her or dominating the music. He just did a fabulous job.
Wow, so he played the lead line.
Yeah.
For those.
Yeah.
Nice.
And just did it very tastefully. It wasn't like, I'm the violinist, and he didn't overplay it at all, which he really displays a lot of music maturity for a kid his age.
Yeah. Well,
he's on first desk, is he?
Actually, with the Greater Buffalo Youth Orchestra, he's playing second violin.
Okay.
Which those are the top in the whole. The state. It's really one of the premier youth orchestras in the country. So, in the Western New York region, he's definitely in the top 20. But there's some good sticks in that orchestra. So he's still playing second. So he's hoping to make first next year.
I bet the first chair can't set up his own virtual server.
No.
Just saying.
They all go to him when it comes to that stuff. So.
Yeah.
It's like some of those kids, they'll be sitting there, and I'll talk to their parents, and, oh, Johnny was only able to practice for an hour and 45 minutes today, and I told him he's got it. And I'm like, yeah, my kid practices an hour and 45 minutes a week if he's on a good week, So for him to be doing what he's doing and to be where he is with as little time as he really puts into it,
right,
commendable.
No, yeah, he is well-rounded from that standpoint.
If only I could teach him to speak Spanish without a Chinese accent.
Yeah, totally.
I think that's just hilarious.
Isn't that a riot?
He speaks Spanish with a Chinese accent.
Yeah, and then my daughter hit me up with she wants to go to Costa Rica at the end of the second semester to do her study abroad program.
Right.
So, yeah, this is cool.
I know.
$10,000 for tuition. That's for college. I got another $10,000 for him for high school.
Right.
Then let's see, where are we going? Oh yeah, now we're going to New York City and we're going to Minneapolis, and my daughter wants to go to Costa Rica. I said, I hope you guys don't want anything for Christmas.
My son's down at the Kansas City Art Institute, and that's $40 a year.
Yeah.
And I never thought I'd have a kid go to a school that expensive. And he scholarshiped in a lot of it, which was really, really nice. Yeah, he did really well. His art is really good. I don't know where he got it from. Not from me, that's for sure. I'm a stick figure. I spit on a piece of paper and hope it makes a stick figure.
I can't beat my signature. So.
I know the expense, and we were probing him. We were there for Parents' Day this year, and we're probing him. So are you going to want to study abroad? Because that's the big, that's a big deal there. Yeah. He's like, I don't know, we'll see. So he's not, at least at this point, he's not. He's kind of a homebody kid. He likes to be home. He's not adventurous along, So he didn't, in high school I thought we'd have a lot of trouble with him, and he just didn't go anywhere.
It's funny. Both my kids, we always from the time they were like 2 years old, always usually go out of town twice in the summer. So, whether it be a state park or down to visit relatives or whatever, or rent a condo for a week at a beach or whatever, we always made 2 road trips, and both the kids just loved to travel. They just, can I go? Yeah, let's go. Yeah. It's like, no fear at all. Yeah. Say Christian did that trip in Europe and actually had the time of his life.
Well, he was down south, right? This last summer, right? He went down to Brazil or Argentina.
Oh, Argentina.
Argentina, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Which, I didn't know this until recently. There's in Argentina they have a really strong IT focus from a national focus. They create a lot of well-trained IT staff, which I never would have thought. I wouldn't have thought of Argentina being a supplier of IT staff. And, you think, of course, of India and China. But Argentina, I might have to take a second look at that, because they're just 1 hour ahead of the Eastern time zone.
Right.
And
we've got a bucket load of people in Argentina because they're cheaper than India now.
Yeah, no, it's a fairly inexpensive place to track people down and create jobs.
And that's what I've been telling them right along. I said, with the way things are going now, when I was a kid, they used to tell you might have to move down south. But you know what? Nowadays, in your situation, you may have to move to Argentina or Singapore or wherever. And, having that extra language skill, big asset.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. We have begun to look at building our India operation and from an IT perspective, and not outsource or offshore, but actually a global IT, an IT center where we can hand off work from the U.S. to India. They'll work it during their time zone, and then that work would come back into the U.S. The next day. And I've got a guy in India right now from India. He's staying there for a couple weeks and just working out of one of the offices, one of my senior developers. And they've been doing this over the last week. And it's just been phenomenal. The amount of productivity they can do as they're in different time zones. And the trick is in the handoff, right? And so you got to have strong staff with good communication skills to make that work, right? But we're pretty excited about trying that. And it's not the intent of shipping them all the crap work or, shipping them. It's a true handshake partnership of development that, can be done. You can work on something 8 hours today, leave it in somebody's environment. Andrew, you and I do this.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll work on something and I'll be like, all right, I got to go to bed. And you're like, all right, I'll wrap this. I'll get this put together. It'll be available when you wake up in the morning. And sure enough, it's there, and I pick it up and post it, and so it works out pretty well.
Yep, works. That does. The hardest part when you send stuff that I find is when you send stuff to India. It's the do you understand? Yes.
Yeah. Right.
Are you sure about that? No.
No.
Yeah. No. Right on. Yeah. You got to make sure. You almost have to say. And and I'm guilty of that too. I've been on a conference call and somebody says, okay, did you get it? And you don't want to admit at that point you don't. Yeah. Oh, sure. We'll figure it out. And then you end up calling them back, 10 minutes later. Okay, what did you say? You just got to say, you know what? I don't have a clue. Can you do it again? So.
And that's a cultural thing.
Yeah.
When Michelle and I were there in 2008 for 2 months, we're dealing with a lot of construction people. This construction has to be finished by, I think it was like the 17th of August, because we've got people moving in on the 18th. Yeah, it'll be done, and they finished on the 28th.
Yeah. Oh, and you'd be like, oh, we're not late. We said the 28th.
Yeah. And they go, oh, no problem. It will be done. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Well, it's good. I'm excited about our opportunity to collaborate, and I'm really hoping we have really good video capabilities, audio and video capabilities, and I'm pretty excited about working with this staff overseas and really creating this around the clock kind of development cycle. Because right now I keep my U.S. guys here way too late at night at times, and it'd be great if they could pass some of that work off and have it work the next day. So we're excited about that. It'll be fun.
You guys are doing some crazy hours of late.
Yes, it has been nuts. We have a big deliverable coming up, so. It's these guys. I am only putting in a fraction of what my team's putting in. These guys have been putting a lot of miscellaneous hours in. So, well, Gary, thanks again. I'm gonna cut this and get working on a quick edit and get that out to you, Andrew, and Gary, we'll see you next week. I'm gonna go ahead. You know what I need to do? Let me go ahead and give you rights to that to the show notes for next. Oh no, you should have them already because you were.
I think I do. Yeah.
You were scheduled for the show. Okay.
Yep.
Good stuff.
See you next week.
All right, guys. Take care. Thanks a bunch. See you, Andrew.
Wait.
Have a good afternoon. Bye. We'll see you.
Yep, will do. Bye.